Hey friends, you're with me, Anuradha from learningmilestone.com, and in this series, we are learning simple Python projects which could be created by Python beginners, especially. And in this lecture, what we will be doing, we'll be creating a maths quiz where user will be given two random numbers, and then there will be an operation which will be chosen by user, let's say plus minus multiplication between those two number, and user has to answer, and finally the user will be given the score and correct answer percentage. Let's see how it should work in real when once it is created. Let's head back to REPL editor to see the output. So I am in REPL editor. Let's see once the program is created how it should work. Let's say I run it. A user will get this a simple maths quiz. Then the options are displayed to the user, and the user has to choose between these operations. 5 is the option to exit, and the rest are number operations. Let's say I choose 2, enter your answer. So two random numbers are generated, and that operation chosen by user is used to present problem to the user where user has to answer. So I can answer correct, I can answer incorrect. One more thing, if I enter any other choice other than 1 to 5, it will say invalid menu option, please try again. So let's say I use 1 this time, which is for addition. It throws me addition question. Now I can be correct, I can be incorrect. Let me answer. It says incorrect when I answer incorrect, right? And enter your choice. Let's say I press 5, I want to exit out of this, I'll press 5, and then finally it gives me number of questions, answer 2, correct answer 1, percentage correct answer is 50%. So this is how it should. In this tutorial I'll be primarily using function and its related concepts like parameter and return. Apart from the normal function concepts which we generally use like while loop and random and list and f string and more. Okay, so I'll be doing coding in REPL editor, which is a popular online editor, but in case you have your own editor, you can start in your editor. Okay, so let's get it started. I'll go to REPL editor, create new REPL, select Python, and let's say I name it as math quiz 1, create REPL. Okay, so let's start with the first output. So first I have to create a function because in this tutorial I'll be primarily talking in terms of function. So what I'll do, I'll create one main function. We start function with the help of def keyword, and this is function name. This is colon. So this is function header, and this circular brackets are meant to pass parameters if any, and here it is the main body of the function. So right now we will say pass, and what we want is we want to call the other function inside this function. Okay, and what else we'll do, we'll finally call this function main. Okay, so this main function will be executed. So let's say if I say print hello, I'll get hello, right? If I call this function. If I don't call this function, nothing will be executed. Okay, so function is only run when we are calling it. Now we don't want print hello over here. We want to display this title, right? So I have some asterisk, I have a title, and then same number of asterisks. Let me pass it over here. And before main, what I'll do, I'll create one more function and I'll name it as display title. Okay, and I don't need any input to this function, so I'll just keep this empty, and let me create a variable called title, and I'll say a simple math quiz. Now all I want is these asterisk equal to the length of this title, right? So what I can simply do, I'll do print. I have a character called asterisk, You can choose your character. Then I will do string multiplication. So this is string multiplication operation, and I'm multiplying this with the let's say if I multiply it with 3, what I'll get. Okay, so let me just show you outside the function. So if I multiply it by 3, asterisk by 3, I'll get 3 stars. If I multiply it by 5, I'll get 5 stars, right? But I want this asterisk equal to number of characters in the title. So I'll multiply it with the length of title. Okay. And then I'll print my title over here. And I'll multiply it again with length, right? And now I'll call this function inside this function main. Okay, and finally I'm calling main function. So when this main function is called, if we go over here and then it sees this display title is being called, it looks up to what is there inside display title, and that is run. So let's see what output we get. A simple math quiz. Okay, so far clear. Okay, what is our next target is to display this options, right? And what is better than storing all these options in one variable, and which is list. And again, I'll have one more function, def display options. Okay, and then circular bracket, then colon, and then let's create a list underscore options. Okay, and here what I'll store my options, one for addition, two for subtraction, and three for multiplication, and four for division, right? And then one last option is for exit if user does not want to do any operation. Okay, subtraction. Okay, so we have these list options. Now what if I want to display these options in this manner? What I have to make use of is for loop. Can we do that? Try on your own. If I have to go through the each and every item of the list, I'll run a for loop, and I'll say for, I'll create any variable, let's say for option in. So it will access each item of the list one by one for option in list options. And what I want to do with that with that item, I would simply want to display it. That's it. Okay. So if you notice, these functions are not returning anything, they are simply doing action. Okay, and get the output of this, to actually execute this function, I have to call this function, right? So once I display my title, I'll call this function display options. Okay, and don't forget circular brackets when calling the function. So let's run this again. Perfect, right? And I can do one more thing just for the sake of clarity. I'll just put some hyphen and into, let's say, I don't know, 20. Okay, run. See? Okay, perfect. So we have reached till this point, and now is the time to ask users choice, right? So we'll create one more function, def get user. Don't forget to write comments. I'm in hurry, so I'm not writing, but when you actually write the code, don't forget to write comments. Okay, so get user input. Again, circular bracket, colon, and now what we want to do, we want to take input from the user. We'll say choice. Okay, choice. So user is basically giving choice of operation. Okay, So we can say choice, we can say operation, okay, equal to input, right? We'll be making use of input, enter operation of your choice. Okay, perfect. And we also want to make sure that user can enter one also, or options from 1 to 5 also, but user is free to enter -1 or 6 also, or any number, right? So we should be keeping check on that. So for that, what we will say, while operation, okay, now we have to compare this operation with a number. What we should be doing, we'll be converting into int. Okay, while operation, there are two conditions over here. Operation should not be greater than 5 and should not be less than 1. So we'll be using logical operator or over here. And what we'll say, while operation is greater than 5 or operation is less than 1, okay, what we want to do, we want user to enter the correct thing. So we'll say print invalid menu option, try again. Okay, and what else we want, we just don't want to leave print statement, we again want to give this option so that user can enter the information again, right? So this happens until the time user enters some wrong information. Once we are out of this while loop, when we are out of this loop, when user enters any correct option, right, apart from these values, it directly goes over here. We can use else also, but we don't need to use else over here, right? So we can simply say return operation. Now what is this return keyword doing, right? So return, so when we are calling this function get user input over here, right? Sorry, I should not be using def. So whenever we are calling get user input over here, right? For these values which are not doing any return, which are just performing action, we cannot save the value from these functions in any variable. But what return helps us to do is we can save the value in another variable. Let's say I create a value option equal to, right? And I can make use of this output over here. So I can simply call a function. I can store the value returned from that function if the return keyword is used, and I can print option over here, and further I'll be making use of this option in the main function. So let's see what happens now. Okay, enter operation of your choice. Let's say I enter 8. Invalid menu, try again. Let's say I enter -1. Invalid menu option, try again. So let's say I enter 3. It returns me option. Perfect so far, right? So let's see what else we need to do over here. So if you see, the next part is we present a problem to user, right? With the equal to sign and a prompt, right? Equal to sign, problem equal to prompt, where user can enter the answer, right? So this is definitely a print statement. Here we need two random numbers and the operation which user has chosen, right, with equal to prompt. So how we can do that? Let's create one more function, then we'll see. So let me create one more function first, and that is getting solution from the user. Okay, so next we will create a function to create a problem. So first let's get user solution. So I'll write a function get underscore user solution. All right, so in this get user solution I will pass a parameter. Okay, Parameter is the value which we can pass through a function. Okay, we can pass input to a function through parameters. So let me name this as problem, since I want to pass uh, problem to user before I ask for input, right? So I'll pass this problem, and what we can do, we can first print enter your answer, and then we can also print problem, and then we can ask for user's answer. Let's say it's simply equal to. Okay, and let me convert it into int, because any output given by input function is a string, and let me just store it in result. So with this get user solution, which is taking problem as the input, we intend to return result, which is user solution. Okay, now let's call this function and see how we can call this function now. So I'll call this function now get user solution and circular bracket. This time in circular bracket, I need one value, one argument, right? Because this function is expecting one value to be passed as input on which it can work upon. So let's say I create a local variable over here, prob equal to, I'll just give it a string 2 plus 6. Okay, we have yet to create this problem, so I'll just hard code it over here and pass this prob over here, and I'll get it in the variable user answer, because user has answered, right? And we are returning, and then we can store it in external variable. And let me just print user answer. Okay, let's see how it works. Run, enter your choice 2. So it gave me this problem because I'm passing this problem, right? Print problem and then equal to. That is another story that we need to have these in line. We'll just see how we can fix it. But let's say user enters 45. We are not doing any validation. We are simply printing it over here. So I just get 45, right? So first let's fix this problem to bring it in one line. What we can do by default, we have each print statement in the next line. If we put and is equal to nothing, right? There will be no next line character, right? By default, this and is next line character. So in case we want this and this in one line, we can just remove new line character, and let's just simply see the output to enter your answer 2 plus 6 is equal to. Perfect. What we have to do over here, we have to generate this problem, and in that problem we have to see what operation we have to go with, and then we have to pass that problem over here. So we need one more function, right? Get underscore problem. Okay, and what we can first of all pass to that function is the option which user has given, right? Or let's write it as operation. So we need this input while creating this function. So first of all, what we will do, we will randomly generate two numbers. Num1 is equal to, and how we can randomly generate two numbers, right? Random module. So I import random module over here. So random dot, and we'll be using rand int, and right now I don't want to make the problems over complex. I'll simply say 1, generate a number between 1 to 10. Similarly, number 2, if you want to make complex problem, you can increase the range of this random integer generation, and I'll say again generate a number 2. Now at this point we have operation, we have two numbers, and we simply need to create this part, right? And Let's see how, and we also can fetch the actual answer over here. So let's see how it should work. If my operation which user has chosen is equal to 1, let's say. Okay. So what I need to do, I need to print this statement, right? So for that I can make use of f string, and I can do num1. My string should be num1 plus num2 and then equal to, right? So that actually I don't need equal to. So my string should be num1 and num2. Num1 plus num2, and I also have real answer, right? So I can say solution equal to num1 plus num2. Actually, I don't need to print this. I simply need to store it in a string. Let's say the string name is problem equal to, and so I have two things, problem and solution, which are getting obtained from this function. And similarly I can also do for other operation. I'll simply do a copy paste 3 more times, and I'll just change the operation minus, and if the operation is 3 then it is multiplication, and if the operation is 4 then it is division. And we are not taking care of exit over here because we don't need to create problem in that case, right? And instead of if, I'll use elif, right? Because we just want one of the conditions to execute and not all the conditions, right? So elif over here. Now we need two things from this function, so we need to return two things from this function. And what are those two things? One is returning problem and the other is returning solution. And now we need to call this function get underscore problem over here, right? And let's call this function. So instead of hard coding this problem, we'll call the function get underscore problem. We already have option return which is chosen by the user with the help of get input. So let's see. So we have this get problem, and now we need to store it in a variable called prob. Now remember we are returning two things, so we can return two things in this. We can store two different values returned in this manner. It is a tuple. So first value goes in this, second value goes in this. So right now we only need uh, this, right? But we'll compare it later for if answer is correct or not. So let's see if it works, if it shows us what we want. Enter operation of choice. So it gives us this perfect. And now user can enter, but right now we are not comparing user answer with the real answer. Okay, let's name it as solution. Okay, so what I want is I want to compare this, but before that I want to run this only when the option entered by the user is not 5. Let's say user don't want to run any operation, user will enter 5, and then I don't want to proceed with these options. So I'll again make use of while option is not equal to 5, then only run these, right? Otherwise we'll exit out of this loop. All right, so we have this problem solution, and here we want to compare what solution with user answer. If user underscore answer is equal to solution, okay, then we will print correct. We need to do more things which is pertaining to scoring, but we'll append that later. Else we will print incorrect. Okay, perfect. Now Okay, now what we want to do, we have these things. If user answer is equal to solution and all that extra stuff, right? While the option is not equal to 5, then only it will run. So let's see if we get that. Enter the operation. 1, 7 plus 10, 17, correct. Enter your answer. 6 plus 1, 7, correct. Enter your answer. 18, okay. No, I'll give wrong. So incorrect. Perfect. This is working perfectly fine. And all now we need is some scoring, right? For the purpose of scoring, let's create two more variables. One is count equal to 0, which is keeping track of how many questions are being answered and correctly, and the total questions asked. Okay, initially they are 0. So when the user answers it correctly, we'll increase the count value by 1. When the user answers it, and we will also increase the total value, right? Total number of questions being asked by 1. But when the user answers incorrectly, we'll simply increase the total and not the count of correct answer, right? So finally, we'll come out of this while loop and we'll print correctly answered. Okay. And here we'll write count. And similarly, before that, we can print total questions asked, right? And here we can give total. Let's see it works or not. Run. Enter your operation. 8 minus 5, 3. Enter your answer. 3. Enter your answer. Minus 2. Enter your answer. Blah, blah. And this thing, right? Incorrect. So, but there is a problem over here. It is not giving me again the choice to exit. Only one time it gave me, right? So, what I need to do over here, I need to ask from user again this option, staying within the while loop, right? And I'll write it at the end. So every time this while loop goes, it checks whether user has given 5 or not. So the same time, what I'll do, I'll also find the percentage of correctly answered, okay? Percentage correctly answered. And that's easy, right? So what we can do is we can do this operation of count by total, and we can multiply count by 100. Oops. And we can also round of our answer. We don't want long percentage, so I'll just round it off. So it will be accurate till 1 place. So let's run it. Enter the operation of your choice. 1, okay, 17. Again, it asks me enter the operation of your choice. Let's say I want to subtract this time. Minus 2. Enter the operation of your choice. 3. And I don't mark it correct. Enter the operation of your choice. I want to exit out of it. 5%. So total questions asked is 3. Correctly answered is 2. Percentage correctly answered is 66.7. You can always put some demarcation to make it more readable, right? Into 30. Okay, perfect. So that's all about this tutorial today. I hope you liked the program and you liked the way I communicated logic while building the program. So stay tuned for more such programs with me and do like my videos. Thank you.